Afternoon, evening, or morning, depending on where you are in the world and where you are watching. We are back again for another stream. We're going to be talking all things Arsenal today in relation to transfers, but also the fact the pre-season is upon us. And there's going to be some outgoings, I believe, very, very soon. What's happening with JURRIEN Timber? What's happening with Declan Rice? Why has he still not been announced? We can talk a little bit about outgoings as well and do a little bit of Q&A. Before you do anything, please make sure that you are hitting a like button. It is absolutely free. You don't have to smash it. You can gently caress it if you wish, but as long as you hit it, I don't care. And subscribe to the channel if you can. We want to try and hit 40k ASAP. Make sure you get your questions in the chat. We are going to be doing it. Put your super chats in. We will get them straight to the top of the queue. If not, put in your questions. Make sure you do a capital Q for me so I understand that it's a question. It'll make it a hell of a lot easier when I'm starring them all. Lee, how are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. I'm going to say, we sort of said that we'd do something this week on a Thursday because we thought like a few things. We actually thought that all the signings would be announced along that line, But again, nothing. JURRIEN, is that his name? JURRIEN Timber. I thought that one was going to come out first. That. And then I see Declan Rice is still in Portugal, so I don't know when they're going to be doing that. And the thing is, I'm not saying it's worrying me because I know that it's all done now, like, you know what I mean. But they're going on the trip on Sunday. Surely he's going to be in that, like, you know what I mean. And I'm a little bit. I don't know. You know what I mean? I see that other players today, like Aston Villa, were linked with that Spanish defender about a week ago. Now it's done, you know what I mean? There's others done. We haven't even, I get a little bit that Declan Rice, they want to make a big thing of it and all that, but this Timber one, that should be old Julian should be done, shouldn't he? Like, I mean, he should be done, like, So yeah, and really not a lot going out neither, Dan. Did you think that?
No, I think you're right. And there's a lot of rumour. That's all I keep hearing. And getting a bit annoyed with some of the key words now, mate. Advanced talks, imminent. Just bloody announce it. Do you know what I mean? And when the outgoings are being rumoured as well, where is Tavares going? Where is Lokonga going? Is Balogun leaving? Is Partey going? We've seen Xhaka leave. What's happening with Tierney and Smith Rowe? Is Fabio Vieira staying? Is Pepe going to have to be mutually terminated? Is Eddie going to stay? All this up in the air. No one's quite sure at the moment. It would be nice to try to get some of that nailed on. I do think, though, Lee, and I'll ask you this to start off with, I think we're going to see Timber and Rice announced, but I don't think we'll see anything else until we start losing players. I think some of the outgoings will then start to happen before we then bring another couple in. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, exactly that. I'll tell you what, I'm interested to see what happens on Sunday because I know, like, I remember last season going to Nuremberg, funny enough, and players like Bellerin and certain other players played in that game, and then, like, then didn't go to America. Funny enough, went to America as well. I think Bellerin went to America as well, didn't he? Like, I mean, and then so it'd be really interesting to see who goes on the American tour and who doesn't, like, and does it really matter if they do or they don't? It doesn't seem to affect transfers either way. So, do you know, like, there was a time, like, you remember, we might be linked with a player and they go, oh, he's gone on the tour, that's it, or he ain't gone on the tour, oh, that's good news, he's not. But I don't think it really matters now, like, So, obviously, these players have got to stay fit for their moves anyway. I get that. But, we're none really wiser who's going and who's not, like, I mean, certainly the Tierney one's kept very quiet then. That's kept very quiet.
Yeah.
At this moment in time. I know you'll be pleased about that. Thomas Partey seems to be more flesh on the bone than not, if I'll be honest. And I can't, like the Balogun one, I don't really know. No one can answer me this, Dan. And I've asked, and if anybody can put it in the chat and say anything, like, why is Balogun on this trip and not in the America with the Gold Cup, semi-final and final of it? He was in the part of it before that, but for these games, he's not a part of it, like, I mean, for the US team. So I find it all a bit strange. I don't know.
Yeah.
It all strange.
It is strange. let me ask you about the Rice and Timber deals once they're done. With them coming in, we've already spoken about what they'll bring. We understand that Declan Rice is a top talent, and we do believe that Timber will be a really good rotation option for right back, right centre back, and some are saying that he might even get ahead of some of those positions. So we understand that they're going to be two signings that majority of people are happy with. We've got Kai Havertz in as well. We need more, Lee. So before we start talking about outgoings, what sort of positions are left that Arsenal might look to try to get over the line before this window shuts, in your opinion, mate?
Well, in my opinion, I still feel we need one more midfield player. I can't see Lukonga being here, if I'll be honest. So I would like to upgrade on that. And maybe if we are to sell Balogun or someone like that, we're going to need another forward, or forward thinking player.
So let me just question you on the first bit. We need a midfield player. I agree with that. Do we need two midfield players if Partey goes?
Oh yes, yeah, 100%. That's if Partey stays. Yes, definitely. If Partey goes, then we need. Listen, a lot of talk about Partey, and I see it from everybody's side. People saying that they want to keep him for whatever reason. He's a great player and all that. I can see for me, I'm a big fan, as you know. But then on the downside, you know what I mean, is that he doesn't stay fit and wasn't great at the last part of the season. My real belief in that is that he wasn't great towards the end of the last season is because he just wasn't fit enough. I don't think he was 100% fit. He needed him 100% fit. The worrying thing with him is if he can play 3 games a week, or 2 games a week is what you're going to need. You know, you could play him, say, like one Premier League game, Champions League game, then you're going to have to rest him. But that wouldn't be a bad thing because you've got other players in the team. But if they were to sell him, you know, I'm not having this like 30 million and all that. It's got to be an offer that Arsenal can't refuse, Dan, for a start. Like I'm talking 50 million, you know, all right, yeah, or 45. We'll have to accept it. And if they do, then they're going to have to bring in somebody big and, you know what I mean. And I'm looking at a top midfield player. And there ain't that many about, you know, Dan, if I'll be honest. So for me, I would be happy with Partey staying. But if he actually was to go, yes, definitely 2 more midfield players required. Because if anything happens to Declan Rice, we're in the same position as we was last season. Like, you know what I mean? And listen, Jorginho done well and he can do a job for us. I know that he can. I'm not worried about that. But I think Jorginho is one of those players that can come in for a couple of games, then come out for a couple of games, not play week in, week out for 3 or 4 months. So that is my problem, like, you know. Someone just put in the chat moment there about Lavin playing. I think that's one that they could go for, but I'm writing that he ain't going to be like a direct replacement for Partey now and get up to his standard. You know, Partey's standard.
I agree.
You know,
listen, if Partey goes, in my opinion, I want to go and get Caicedo and Lavia, not just one of them. Partey's going to go, I think. I think Saudi Arabia are going to give us 40-odd million for him, and I think he's going to go. I don't know why. I've just heard a lot of things saying that he is going. He's happy to go over there. It's just got to be the right price. There was some rumours about Juventus, but it don't look like that's really solid. I think it's going to be Saudi Arabia. Now, I don't really care, to be honest. If he goes, he goes. It means he doesn't want to be here. I'd rather get rid of him if you don't want to be here, right? But we've got to go and replace him with people that are as close to Thomas Partey as possible. There's no point going and getting this Zubimendi guy, right, from Real Sociedad. We've got to go and get Caicedo if Partey's going. For me, that's what's got to happen. Because Caicedo and Rice together with Ødegaard, that is a hell of a young midfield. That's one for the absolute future as well. For the next 5-10 years, that is going to be the one that Arsenal go forward with. So there's no point getting Thomas Partey out the door and bringing in a player in the ilk of, you know, Jorginho or El Neni, because we've already got Jorginho and El Neni. It needs to be top player coming in. So Tchouaméni is talked about, De Jong, Caicedo, whoever it be, it has to be that level signing for me.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. If there's getting rid of Partey, that is 100% right. Like, you know what I mean? I'm in a little agreement with you. That probably Partey might be pushing for this, like, which I find a little bit strange.
Yeah, I do.
You know, after being like, you know,
He's had a good season, hasn't he, with us? You know,
It's a fantastic season, like, you know,
yeah.
you've got the Champions League. Why would you want to leave? You know, I also question why Saka wanted to leave, really. You know what I mean? I get it. He's got a 5-year contract and all that, like, but I don't know. You know, it does seem a little bit strange, this one, like, and to be honest, it was one that I was at the beginning of, like, the end of last season. I never even thought about Partey leaving. Never crossed my mind. And then all of a
No.
sudden, these rumours have started to get more consistent, aren't they? So now I'm sort of thinking, well, yeah, I think that it may be true. But, you know, listen, I said there'd be casualties next season. I get that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to get rid of Partey or going to let Partey go, you have got to be going in with you know, a top midfield player to replace him, because you know what, he's a top midfield player himself. On his day, when he's fit and on fire,
He's
there's
our
no
best
one.
midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah, there's no one better. There's no one better.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, and this is serious when I say this, I don't really care who comes in or who goes out, as long as we're stronger than the season just gone. That's what I care about the most for me.
yeah,
If you're going to
you
lose
can't
Tierney,
improve it.
you know my thoughts on Tierney. I love him. But if he's got to go because we got this wicked left back coming in like Cancelo, so be it. If Thomas Partey's going, but Caicedo comes in, I'm okay with it. If we lose somebody in our attacking midfield, but we go and get an unbelievable talent, I'm okay with it. You know, Balogun's got to go. That means we go and get another centre forward that looks better. So be it. I'm not one of those, I'm so precious with players. If we're trying to improve the squad and we've got to have a couple of casualties to do that, as long as we're stronger, Lee, I don't care. What I won't have is if Partey, Tierney and Balogun are going and we're bringing in 3 players that are no better than Eddie, Jorginho or Kieran Tierney, then that will be where I'm going to be frustrated with, because you might as well have kept what you had. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know what I mean? And listen, if you're getting rid of players like that, the only reason you're getting rid of those players is because, and keeping the other ones, is because the other ones can command money. You know what I mean? Like, and that you know, I get it. It's a business, but at the end of it, for me now, I'm not worried about the books balancing and all that. Like, I'm worried about what we're going to be like come the end of the season. And it's no good buying Declan Rice for 100 million and everybody going, "Wee, that's fantastic." And on the flip side of that, losing Xhaka and Partey, you know, and replacing it with no one. That is not, you know what I mean? That means we go lighter into the midfield because we've only got 1 player instead of 2. And then, you know, God forbid anything happens to Declan Rice, we're in trouble. So, you know, listen, when it comes to it, I'm pretty sure that they've got this thought out, what they're going to do, and I would be shocked if they were to let Partey go and not bring him in with anybody, like, you know what I mean? And I'm just sort of, what's the word, watching and waiting and seeing what's going to happen with this one, because I'm not convinced anything will, and if it does, I'm not happy, like, you know what I mean? And you know, if Partey is going to be replaced by Declan Rice, then fine, okay, right. Well, you've lost Xhaka, so who are you bringing in place of him? Like, and you know, you're taking a massive gamble, I think, Dan. Listen, it may work, but if we go into our season, our midfields, Rice, Havertz, and Odegaard, 1, it's untried. 2, where's the backup to it? Where's the backup to that? You know what I mean? Like, and with Champions League football and all. So it would be madness.
This is why I think it won't happen. I don't think we'll be left with a midfield of Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, Jorginho and Elneny. I just cannot see that. I think that would be extremely weak in comparison to this
it's not
season.
good enough. It's not good enough.
It ain't good enough, mate. And I think Lokonga will go. And I think we'll get in at least 1 more, maybe 2, like you say, depending on what happens with Thomas Partey. Let's talk quickly before we go into the questions. Make sure you get your questions in, guys. Make sure you put a queue so we know along the button. If you want to put a super chat in, then it will go to the front of the queue, of course, because you'll be paying for it. So make sure you get that, and we'll go through them as many as we can. Lee, do we need a striker? Because I think we do. Gabriel Jesus is a player that can play across the front 3. Eddie Nketiah and Trossard can play there. Balogun's still there at the moment. Is it a case of sticking with what we've got, or are we wait until someone leaves to replace him, or do we need a striker anyway, do you think?
It's a very difficult one, because for me, there's only one position up there now. Do you know what? Years ago, it used to be 2, didn't it? Like, you know
That's
what I mean?
right.
So, you know, so I do think that we need one, and then maybe a couple of replacements for it all. Like, listen, talking about this earlier on, I wouldn't be against selling Balogun and Eddie and bringing in a Vlahovic or a Osimhen or someone like that. But I don't see it happening, like, you know. So that was what I will go down that route. But you know, what about Balogun? Do we give him a go? Do we give him a chance? I'm not so sure, Dan. I don't know what to do on this one. This is a real difficult one for me. Eddie's okay as a backup, but only okay. If you're preparing to let players like, as we just spoke about, Partey go, Tierney, we talked about, you know, and Eddie seems to be safe. I think we're on shaky ground there, if I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I would like to see a Vlahovic come or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think now.
Someone like
I
that.
think we got it, wouldn't we? We got to get a different profile striker. He's a target man. He's good in the air. He can link up play. I know that Jesus can do that. It ain't all about having a tall lump up front, but sometimes you need a different dimension of striker. And I will say this: I think Vlahovic will be brilliant in the Premier League. I really do. And I was speaking to Goonie on my channel the other night, and he made a great point. He said if he was to go to Chelsea, he'd absolutely kill it in his opinion. And he said the reason why is because the last time Pochettino took a centre forward that can do everything, he got him scoring 30 goals a season, and he still is now, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And he is very, very similar in terms of his attributes and style. Now, I don't think he's going to be as good as Harry Kane in the Premier League. I don't think there'll be many that will be because he's absolutely top class. But I understood what he meant in terms of the attributes.
Yeah.
And I do think that his time at Juventus has been overlooked because at Fiorentina, everybody wanted him. He was absolutely killing it. And I think he'd be a great signing. He's about 70 odd million, but that's what you got to pay nowadays for strikers if you want them, you know?
Yeah, like, listen, if you sell Balogun and Eddie, you're getting that, aren't you?
Well, there you go.
Money.
Yeah.
You're getting that money for that. So it would be 2 strikers for 1, you know. And I'm not buying into all this Balogun stuff. I spoke about this earlier on when, what happens if he goes and signs for someone else and scores goals and all that, like, you know what I mean? Listen, if Arsenal, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and I wouldn't want to sell Balogun and then go, I hope he don't do well. I hope he goes and has a good career, because I've got nothing against it.
Absolutely.
So
I'll tell you what though, Lee, I will be annoyed if we sell Partey to United and Balogun to Chelsea because that's the rumour. I can't see us doing that. That'd be ridiculous.
No, you know what I mean. That would be.
We're strengthening our rivals, aren't we?
Straight shit. Because you can't, you know, you like to think that they weren't our rivals, but you can't sleep on those two. I think you're right about Chelsea. Chelsea under Pochettino are a different animal. It's a different Chelsea that he's managing now to what was in the past. I don't think he would have been a success at Chelsea under the previous regime, but this current one, I think that when there's a little bit of time to nurture players and all that, I think he's perfect for that. So I think that was the perfect manager for them. And Man United are always Man United, you know what I mean? So they're always going to buy him for that. So you know, why would we be selling Thomas Partey to Man United? I have no clue what you know what I mean, what we would
do. That makes no sense. I think that's rubbish.
It makes no sense whatsoever. If you're going to sell Partey, you either sell him to Saudi Arabia or another team from another country. It's as simple as that.
No, you're absolutely right. Let's take some of your questions. This first one comes from Ash West. West Ham are apparently getting extremely disappointed in Arsenal. Can you see them pulling out? I'm going to put this one up as well because Highbury Ultra has also said if West Ham somehow pull the plug on this Rice deal, what do we do and how should we react? Well, I'll have my say on this one first. I'll come to you, Lee.
Go on.
I don't think we need to worry about this. I honestly don't. I think it's done. I think we're mucking around. They're mucking around with paperwork, lawyers, and all this stuff. There's rumours are going around that he's on holidays and this is how long it's taking. And unfortunately, there's been a few things that got in the way of it previously that have made it longer. I don't see anybody pulling out. You can't agree a fee and then go, actually, nah, we won't actually. It's done. We just got to get it all agreed and paperwork done. It does worry me why we take so long on deals. I've got to say it does. It doesn't concern me that we're going to miss out on him, but it does make me wonder what the hell's going on at our club, why it takes this long. But what's your thoughts on this one, Judge?
Yeah, no, it's all done. Everything's done. It's just sorting out the you know, like the you know, like I don't know the what's it like, you know. All the social media stuff and all that, it seems to me, and all that, like, you know, the welcome thing, like, you know, but I'm not interested in all that, Dan. All I'm interested in putting on the shirt and
That's exactly the
doing
same as me.
You know what I mean? Like, I actually like the Carl Havertz one when they just delivered it and put it on, and then you're an Arsenal player, like, you know. It weren't no fanfare about it. I get it. There's got to be a fanfare with that because it's a big signing and all that, like, you know. But you know, just get it done and out of the way. Like, I believe that he's going to be on the plane to America on Sunday. If he's not, then I might have a little bit of a worry about it. But it's just about getting the announcement and getting it right, and it, like, you know. And I think it's going to make a song and dance about it, like, you know. And I don't know why. I don't think West Ham, you know, everything's been agreed and all that, like, you know. So. And maybe, listen, you know, he's on holiday at this moment in time. I don't want to drag him back from his holiday. I think he comes back on the Friday, so there's no reason why they can't get everything sorted out by the Saturday and then on the plane Sunday. So that's what we'll have to wait for. I think the medical's all done. As far as I know, the medical's all done and everything like that. It's just formalities now.
Paperwork stuff now. No, I'm with you, mate. Mohammed's put in two, so I'm going to read them both out. It says, why aren't we talking about an out-and-out number 9 and a Saka competition? Are we here just to stay in the Champions League for one season? Don't you guys think we still need more? And then he says, yes, we paid 210 million for 3 quality players, but don't you guys think we still need an attacking option? Your thoughts? We have just mentioned about the striking situation. And I think it's a good point that Mohammed makes there about the Saka competition as well, because we cannot have him playing that amount of games again this coming season, Judges. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that one.
No, and this is where maybe like a Reece Nelson's got to step up and you know, I've been impressed with Reece Nelson. He's what one would say, you know, it's very, very difficult to say, like, how can I say this? Like, you know, it's easy for everybody to turn around and say, oh, let's get a Saka replacement, right? Okay, right. 50, 60 million pounds, 70 million pounds for one of those players. So if you're going to go into a meeting with Mikel Arteta, you're a 70 million pound player. Right, where am I going to play? Well, you're going to be back up to Saka. Well, okay, or Man United or Chelsea, I'm guaranteed starting there, like, you know. So thanks for the chat. I think it's very, very difficult. So you have to go down a different route, like, you know. And so I think that as a backup, you need someone that's going to be able to play 10, 12 games. And I'm looking at Premier League games, Dan, not Champions League games. Can Reece Nelson do them games? I think he can, because I think he proved himself a little bit last season. And that's the target for him now. Like, you know, he's got a contract now. Can you be that person that when relied on to come in and do the job? And you know, I think that he'll be able to do that. Like, you know, who's the backup for Martinelli? Trossard? Same sort of ilk, if I'll be honest. You know, Trossard's probably a little bit better, but they ain't like nailed on players, are they? But when Trossard come in, he done a job. He done a job all over the park, and that's what I think Reece Nelson's got to do. Like, you know, and I'm going to be really honest. I'd like to see us spend a little bit more money in other areas than a backup for Saka. That's my personal opinion.
No, it's an interesting one because I personally feel like we'll get one forward player. I don't think we'll get a striker and a winger. I think we'll get one that can try to be utilised across the front three, and whether that be that we go for a big target man and then use Jesus to be that front three guy, then it might be that we do that. But I do feel that there's an opportunity for us to go and get one more, and I feel like we need to get one more. I think it's fine that Reece Nelson signed. I'm not one of these guys who gets the ump about that, but I don't want Reece Nelson playing like all the time. You know, he's got to be coming in for the League Cup games for me and be one of those sort of type rotation guys like the Jorginhos of this world, not the ones that are starting all the time. Because let's be real, although I liked Reece Nelson's appearances towards the end of last season, I didn't look at him and go, wow, get him on the pitch because he's going to win us a title. Do you know what I mean? So I think Yeah, no, we need to look at that for sure. Let's come to this next one. Bladesman says, why aren't we considering the combination of Partey as a CDM with Declan and Erdegaard? That looks solid. I think that we should be considering that.
Love it to be
that. I'd love it to be that, but they're talking about Thomas Partey leaving. Now, Rice would be that number 6 if Partey goes, and then we'd have, from what people are saying, Havertz and Erdegaard. I don't really like the sound of that, if I'm honest with you, but I would like to see it before I start to judge how poor it looks or how good it looks. The only thing I would say is that I would probably be tempted if Partey goes to buy another number 6, not another number 8, because I think we would probably be able to use Declan Rice there. Now, I think if Partey goes, we need both a 6 and an 8, if I'm honest. But if we had to only get one, I'd probably go for a 6 so that we can have Rice playing as the 8 and then Erdegaard as the attacking 8/10. With that held in midfielder, whether it be Tchouameni or Caicedo, whoever the hell you want it to be, coming in as that 6. That's what I think there. Let's come to Simba's comment next, who says, Lee, I'll let you take this one. Is this a make or break season for Mikel Arteta, given the fact that the board and the fans have backed him going into the season?
Yeah, I think that I would say make or break, but I think he's got he's got to. I think the pressure's on him. I think there's the pressure on him now to deliver. I'm not saying he's got to deliver a trophy and all that, but I think he's got to do exactly what he done last season, challenge again. And if we get into the position that we did last season, then he can't fail it. He cannot fail it, because I think the last 2 seasons you can quite be honest and turn around and say, yeah, I don't think this has been his fault. The squad wasn't strong enough and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But you can't keep saying, going into transfer windows and then saying the squad's not strong enough or it's not this, it's not that. I look at it last season and we lost Saliba. I also think Ben White's form dropped because he was shattered towards the end of the season playing too many games. I look at Saka as well. But when you look at it now, we've got more games than that now. So before this transfer window started, you knew that you needed to strengthen this squad up to be able to cope with that. So I don't really want to go into next season going, oh, we're still light here and still light there, because we should not be doing that no more, And with that then becomes pressure, and with that becomes expectations. And the expectation from my point of view, I don't know what everybody else is, I'm going to speak for myself, is that I expect us to be challenging for that title again next season. I want us to be in a position that we was last season, feeling like I never was 100% confident we could win the league last season, but if we're in this position next season, I expect us to nail it, and that brings pressure on Arteta, and he's got to do that,
What happens if Mikel gets us to the deep stages of the competitions but misses out? So what I mean by that is we get to a semi-finals of both the domestic cups, but we go out. We get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League and we come second. What happens then? Because that could genuinely happen.
I think that he would be given another chance. I think the fans and that would give him another go on it, Dan. But again, then the following season, he's got to deliver. Then, I don't think you cannot keep making excuses. There has got to be a time when you've got to nail something. Now, it's difficult to say nail it when you're playing up against a beast like Manchester City, because at the end of it, Liverpool. Were facing this, but when I look at Liverpool, they did win a Champions League and they did win a title in the 4 or 5 years that they were going hammer and tongs with them, So I think there's going to be a time when there's going to be pressure brought on him, and rightly so, Danny. You can't keep going and spending millions and millions of pounds. And everybody turning around and going, oh, yeah, well, we give him another pass here and another pass there. There is certainly...
Well, let me get your thoughts on this one, because this has just come in, and I think... And big up Lee, by the way. Lou Farrell, absolute legend. He's been from the same old Arsenal days. Absolute legend, don't you? Well, Lee. No excuses for Arteta, Lee and Dan. He has to win a trophy. If not, he has to go, plain and simple. Do you think it's all right for fans to be saying this? Because there's some fans that say that's really out of order, but I'm not so sure that Lee's far wrong there, if I'm honest.
No, every fan's got their opinion and they're entitled to it, you know what I mean? And if Lee feels that that's how it should be, I'm not going to argue with him on that. I think it is time that he delivers. I'm not so sure about if he wins a trophy. I think, listen, if he comes out of the top 4 and we go out of all the cups early and all that, I expect fans to be paying for his head, like, you know what I mean. But if he gets to the just misses out and all that. Listen, if Arsenal were to come second and just miss out to Manchester City again, and also maybe get knocked out in the semi-finals of the Champions League, because there's always going to be questions, Dan. Oh, why couldn't see it over the line? And I get that, like, you know. But there's a thing with a lot of Arsenal fans have always said it's about progression. We're progressing. Well, it's very hard to progress from second. It's a lot easier to progress from 6th or 8th, isn't it, to 5th, and then when you get second, the progress is very, very difficult to do. It's, you know what I mean, like, there's only one place, you can only go one better. It's going to be tough to win the league next season. I don't care what anybody says. Probably even tougher than this season, because I do think that Liverpool will be stronger. And everybody will get stronger. But listen, they say this every year. Every team's going to get stronger. Like, you know, Spurs will be stronger next season. Arsenal will be stronger next season. Man United will be stronger next season. Like, Liverpool will be stronger. Chelsea will be stronger. Well, they weren't, were they? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, Chelsea were still as poor as they were the year before. Liverpool were poor last season. Spurs were actually redressed. Arsenal did get better. So. Listen, I get what people are saying there, like, you know what I mean. I think when you just got to take a little breath about it, like, there's a team that's just won all 3 trophies. That's how hard it is to win a trophy. When you know what I mean, like, all the money.
I've got something to say about that though. But go on, carry on.
No, all that money being spent, you know what I mean. Like, only 2 teams won trophies last season, so I think that there has to be a stage. I don't know if it'll be next season, but there's going to be a stage when he has got to deliver one of those big ones again. And I mean that sincerely.
So let me bring this up then, because Travorelli's making some good points in the chat, saying no one's firing him. He's Kroenke's man. But I actually agree with that. I think Arteta will be the Arsenal manager, whatever, next season, because I think the Kroenkes have stuck by his guns, and I think the fans love him. So I think we could come 10th and go out of everything, and I still think he'll be the manager because everyone seems to love him, right? But in 1999, Manchester United did the treble. Remember that. In 2000, were the fan base of Arsenal going, I'll tell you what, if we get second and get to a final, that's an unbelievable season for Arsene Wenger? Or were we saying, I want to win the league? Because I just want to get back to reality for a minute and understand where we are as a football club. I don't remember anybody in 2000 saying, I ain't beating Man United this year, Lee. Don't think about winning an FA Cup or a League Cup, because that is not happening. Because Man United have won all 3. And definitely a title. Forget it. They've won it. We're coming second at the very, very best. Champions League, no way. Man City have won it. Sorry, Man United have won it. But now, this season, everyone's going, well, we ain't going to win nothing this year, probably, because Man City are the best side in the league. So if we come second and can get to a semi-final, I think we should keep him for another year after spending 700 million. That don't sit right with me. I don't get that mentality, Lee.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying there. But if you go back to 2000, we was a million miles off of Man United. 99, 2000, million miles off them. 2000 to 2001, we lost in the FA Cup final to Liverpool. Should have won that, by the way. And then we kicked on again. And I get what we're saying there, but over those 2-year periods, Dan, over those periods, and I agree with what you're saying, I'm going to put it on the other side of the coin. No one was turning around and saying, oh, if Arsene Wenger should be sacked now, then. No one was saying that, like, you know what I mean? He was still given the opportunities to go and do what he had to do. Because I remember in 2000, I think it was in 2000, I might be wrong. It might have been 2000. We went to Old Trafford and lost 6-1. It was awful.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Like, you know what I mean? And we was a million miles.
Stepanov's at the back.
We was a million. Yeah, do you remember that? We was a million miles off of even challenging for it. And I think that the next season I think we did come runners up, but we was millions of points off of it. So
But my point is not we keeping Wenger, because I've just said I think Arteta will stay. I'll forget Arteta. I don't care if it's Steve Bruce in charge. Like, it should be, we're Arsenal Football Club. we go for the title this season. We go for the Champions League this season.
Right,
That should be the aim for me. Might not be the expectation. The expectation for me is to win a trophy this season and to get into a title race, right? But
I'll
our
tell
aim
you
should
now,
always
I
be to
don't know
win
how
it.
you feel about this. Like, I expect Arsenal to challenge for the title this season, and I expect us to have a more of a chance of winning the league this season than last season. That's my expectations going into this league season. So, for instance, I expect Arsenal at the minimum to finish second next season, right? And I'm hoping that they can win the league. I've not had that hope for a long while, by the way. Going into last season, I never thought we was going to win the league then. Like, do you know what I mean? But I do think that we should be thinking that now. With that, so if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed. And questions have got to be asked. I think someone just said it in the chat. I don't know who it was. Said, like, you know, we're spending a lot of money every season. I don't know how much we spent. We spent 200 million this season. I know. You know, eventually, if you're continuing to keep, you cannot keep saying, oh, we need another transfer window after we've just spent 250 in this one and 150 in the last one before that, 200. Somewhere along the line, Dan, there's got to be a cut-off point when you've got to say, right, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, this is your title charge. And I do think over the next 2 years, I do think Arsenal, with the young players we've got and all that, I think that we should be Manchester City's rivals, and if not rivals, trying to take over them. Like, you know what I mean? They haven't bought anybody at this moment in time. They've not improved their team in any shape or form by buying anybody at the moment. Now, like, it's very, very hard to do that. That's what, you know, they just won the treble. But what we've got, we weren't that far off of them. But, you know, I don't think Declan Rice and Havertz and Timber's enough to tip us over the edge yet. This is, you know,
still need more, and I think we will get more.
We still need more for me to realistically say, right, we are challengers. And listen, I don't care what anybody says. Going back to those times when you were saying and all that, like, you know, I always did. I think we was going to win the league. I always thought we had a chance of winning the league. You know, sometimes we lost to Man United, and I was disappointed. And that's how I want to be again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if we're not going to win the league, it's going to be for me going, you know, I'm disappointed, not making excuses because we haven't won the league. And I've done that over the last couple of years. I'll be honest. I've sort of like, I can see why making excuses. For me, when that ball gets kicked against Nottingham Forest next season, there's no more excuses for me, for the manager or whatever. Like, I don't want to hear any excuses no more. I don't want to hear people turning around, and going, we've done well over the last couple of years. You've got yourself into this position now. You've challenged for the title. You have to, and with that, has now put himself under the pump then, and he's got to produce now. I'm not saying produce and win it, but he's got to continue to keep challenging it, like, you know. And if he doesn't, you know,
there'll be pressure.
Exactly. Sure. And listen, you know, if you had another season, Dan, of like, how can I say it? I don't want to be really negative about it, but if we had another season like we did last season and we come off the rails like we did, like, you know, can fans continue to keep backing that?
I think they will, because I think they've seen what he's done off the pitch and they love what he's done off the pitch. But for me, I've always thought football was about success. And if we're winning trophies, I'm more than happy. If we're clearing out the dead wood, removing the culture, it's all got to be worth something. This has all got to lead to something that's glorious for me, for it to be a huge success of a process. A process starts and it ends with glory. And if it doesn't end with glory, then what do we do? Because the last 4 years has now enabled a big manager that can come and get us across the line to come in. And I think we'll find out this season whether Mikel is that guy or whether he's the nearly the guy and he ain't quite ready yet. And I think we might need to do you remember what Liverpool and Brendan Rodgers did? We weren't quite good enough to get him across the line. I understand Gerrard slipped over and it weren't just Brendan Rodgers. But then Jurgen Klopp come in and went, boom, here you go. Give me a couple of years and I'll sort it out. I think we're even like that, ahead of that now, because I think that we're in a position where if another manager come in, he's got an unbelievable set of squad of players there to go and do something with for the next 5 years. And that's what we'll find out. Now, I hope it's Mikel who does it. I hope this season we win the league. I hope this season we win the bloody quadruple. Of course I do. but I just have quick concerns whether he is the right guy or not. I'm going to fly through these questions quickly, and then we're going to wrap up because I've got commitments, and I know you have too. So this one's from Alex Smith. We'll take one of these each. I'll start with this one. How far do you see us going in the Champions League next season? Great question. Really good question. Look around at the moment, and I know the transfer window isn't over. I can only go on last season and what I've seen so far. I don't think there's more than eight teams better than Arsenal. I'd question at the moment in Europe whether there's 4 on paper that are better on the day. So I'm expecting us to go into the deep stage of the Champions League, at least the quarterfinals, maybe the semi-finals. Personally,
Yeah,
do you agree with that, Lee?
I'm with you on that, and then depending on the draw, if you can have a little bit of luck in the draw.
Of course, you need that.
I'm with you on that. There's 2 or 3 teams that are probably better than us, but that's all.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. This next one comes in from Ricardinho, who says, "Where do you guys think Havertz is playing in this team?" I think he's going to play in the Granit Xhaka position, Lee. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I do. I think that he's going to be playing as a midfield player.
Yeah, 100%, man. DJ Frisky says, "Do you think KT will leave this summer?" I'm going to say no. And a lot of that is because I don't want him to, but also because I do think that there's a chance Arteta will sit him down and say, I need squad depth and we've got 4 competitions and you're going to play, mate. People talk about leaving Kieran Tierney and that he's injured all the time. A quick stat for you. Kieran Tierney was last injured in March 2022. Tomiyasu's hardly kicked a ball and everyone wants to keep him and sell Tierney. Make it make sense. Lee, this is your one. Do you think we'll sell Balogun and use a right wing cover or get a right wing cover instead?
If we sell Balogun, we'll get somebody else in, yeah.
I can see that one happening. I really can. This one as well from Alistair. I think this is really important actually because a lot of people sometimes don't always look at both sides. Why are we talking about what happens if we fail? City fans are not even talking about failing. I've had much PTSD over the last few years of dropping the ball at the end or bottling it, as everyone calls it, that I think that we sometimes just don't want that to happen so much. There is a great chance, Lee, that we can do very well this year. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind.
I'm confident that we will do. What I see last season, I'm going to be really honest. We was head and shoulders above everybody else apart from Manchester City. They were a little bit better than us, but we were head and shoulders above anybody else in that league last season. Now, all those teams have got, Liverpool now have brought in a couple of players and good players, but that will take them not near us on that level. The only worry that I've got is what happens with that midfield. I've got no problems with our midfield at the moment if it stayed the same. But, but I do feel that if we was to lose Partey, we will be a little bit weaker. That may take us about the same level as Liverpool. But for me, no. If Arsenal do things right in this summer transfer window and do it properly, as I've said before and time again, they've got to just make big signings. Haven't got to make much more after that. This is a massive, massive transfer window when we can really go at it. And then for the next 2 or 3, 4 seasons, we've only got to just tinker. But it's up to the board.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And I think that's a good way to end it because I do like to end, if we can, on a positive note because we are, in my opinion, for the first time in a while, and it's extremely refreshing, doing some business. And we've got 3 players in already, it seems. I know 2 haven't been announced, but it looks like they're going to be. I think we need another 3 at least, and that's if Partey stays. If Partey goes, we might need another 4, and that other 4 could be 2 forward players and 2 centre midfielders. It's going to be interesting to see what we do. I have confidence we will keep going and that we will actually get the business done. But of course, there's always that self-doubt in my mind that perhaps I'm not on the same wavelength as the board and the ownership, but we'll see. Lee, enjoyed that, mate. That went really
good. It's really good. Really good. So not a lot happening, but you can discuss other things, you know what I mean? So just Absolutely. Quickly, someone then just said there, what about playing White in midfield? That could be an option, you know what I mean? Like, not a lot of people see Benjamin White playing right back last season. He done that. So
very comfortable on the ball. Ben White,
and
so's Timber, by the way. Apparently, he's played at the 6 a few times. For
Ajax, so it'll be interesting what happens in pre-season. That's why I think pre-season would be very interesting for everyone to have a look at. And we're obviously got a first game tomorrow. Have a little look at that because you may be able to pick up on a couple of things. I remember seeing Ben White playing at right back, and I thought, oh, he's only playing there just to cover a few people because of people. And in the end, he played there all season. So it'd be a very interesting one. That.
Absolutely, it will be. Listen, guys, make sure you do us a favour, man. There's nearly 500 of you still watching live. Make sure you hit a like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. We want to try and get up to 40k, which is our next target on here. So that would be amazing. I'm trying to get to 11k on mine as well. That'd be amazing if you can come support that, please, people. I'll be on there tonight at 8 o'clock on Football's 12 Man podcast. If you can come support me, that'd be fantastic as well. But as ever, from me and Lee, thank you all so much for being with us. We will see you next time. Take it easy and up the Arsenal. Take care, people.